Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 204 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on March 26th, 2024. How are all you wonderful folks doing? Man, I hope you're doing well. I hope you've been enjoying great weather, great shooting, great productivity. Man, I hope your week's going just great. It would be awesome if that were the case. A lot of things are going on at PEW Science lately. Today, we're going to speak about some of them. That's right, including the technical discussion of the Inert Haze Ti-P white paper that was published last week. That's a lightweight, mid-sized 9mm pistol silencer for those folks who may have missed that. So we'll go through that research today on the podcast. Also, I wanted to give a quick thank you to all the listeners, supporters, and our clients. So we'll go into that as well. Just, we're very thankful for all your support to make this effort possible. So now, speaking of thank yous, a word from our podcast sponsors. You can stick around if you like, or, feel free to skip to the topic timestamps in the show notes. Just, go wild, wherever your proclivities take you. Because the J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right. Did you know that? You should know that, because nothing you do, exercise, sports, any physical activity, frankly, is worth doing without consistency. You do want to be really great at something? Well, you're going to have to do it all the time if you want to be good at it, okay? Legion Athletics can help. They have whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of supplements, actually. They don't have everything that you need. They're not going to work out for you, for example, but they do have a lot of things to help you on your journey. Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. Code word PEW Science gets you 20% off of your first order, which is pretty wild. And if you keep using that code, you'll get double loyalty points everything you buy there. And that really, you cash them in for a net 10% off everything going forward. It's a good deal for you. It helps the podcast, keeps you healthy. You're going to keep buying stuff, because you're going to keep working out and you're going to keep getting more swole. That's basically your mission, right? So legionathletics.com. Go check them out. The podcast is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're just passing through, they're worth checking out. And you know what? Speaking of Top Gun, I was looking for a sight, like for a red dot for a pistol that I'm kind of putting together, and I couldn't find the particular model that I wanted. And I was like, man, I wonder if Kyle at Top Gun has it. And sure enough, I called him. I was like, hey, do you guys have this? He's like, oh yeah, man. And I bought it. Literally probably 15 minutes ago before I started recording this, I just bought a sight from these guys. So they actually have a lot of stuff. They're talking about all kinds of machine gun acquisitions they have recently as well. So they have a 15-lane indoor shooting range there. They let you rent firearms. They have the largest firearm rental fleet in the whole state of Texas. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns, machine guns. You can even rent silencers now to shoot and try before you buy, which is pretty rad. So they're cool. You can check out their inventory at topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range. Go bother them. Tell them Jay said to bother them. They're cool. This episode is also brought to you by High End Armament Technologies out of Oklahoma. These guys are wild. Infrared sighting systems, thermals, exotic guns that you really don't find anywhere else. Check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms. Tell them Jay sent you. This podcast is also brought to you by the largest distributor of silencers in the known universe. That'd be Silencer Shop. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically. You cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees and no paperwork errors. It's just you and your silencer with no drama. And they're really spreading. They're spreading the silencer gospel, guys. They're making it possible for a lot of shops to operate without carrying inventory. It's quite interesting how much silencers have proliferated since the advent of the silencer shop powered by dealer ecosystem, which is a term that I'm coining right now. They're doing pretty good. It's widespread. It's efficient. They're getting silencers in the hands of a lot of people, especially with these approval times right now. Things are going so quickly. It's nuts. Now, finally, and most importantly of all, now and forever, the podcast is brought to you by the PEW Science Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, the lab sponsors this podcast. It runs a public research effort. We continue to try to push the silencer industry forward, one test at a time. You can visit our website at pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It is the simplest, most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. It's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone from the weapon system and all the mechanical operation is ceased. It's pretty cool. PEW Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. There are 7 sections in the standard, and it's all on the website, and it contains the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the world. Yeah, it's all available to the public at pewscience.com 24/7. Pretty cool. And, you yourself can support this podcast. You can support the PEW Science Lab, all the public testing that we release for you guys by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. Helps keep the lights on. Helps me do this, because it's hard. And you know what? If you're not into monthly fees, you can give a one-time donation. It doesn't give you access to extra research or anything, but it does help us. So that's cool. You can do that. There's a button on the review page and the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And, if times are tough and it's not possible for you to contribute monetarily to the effort, you can always contribute spiritually and emotionally by telling folks that silencers and guns are awesome by giving this podcast a great rating on Spotify or iTunes, or like and subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you choose to consume this information. It would help. Okay. 2 topics for you today. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6145, the Inert Haze Suppressors Ti-P on the HK P30L. That's right, semi-automatic handgun, combat handgun. Yeah, this is the technical discussion of the article published last week. We will examine the design evolution of the Resilient Suppressors RSP. And I know I keep mentioning that in context with the silencers because they're related. And in silencer sound standard pedigree parlance, we must highlight that so everything is together with a tight little bow. It's very important to understand where you come from and where you're going. Tons of testing is going on right now. And that's the topic 2. We have great technical articles coming your way. Just thank you for your patience in this. Huge thanks to wonderful lab clients for trusting us to do all this stuff justice, frankly. And then, big thanks to all you new PEW Science members. And man, the Form 4s going faster are interesting. I think it's bringing a lot of traffic to the effort, and I think we're helping a lot of people quickly. It's really cool to see. Okay. All right. Let's move into topic 1 at a time of 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Okay. 1 moment. Okay, man, it is so nice outside. Oh, wonderful day for testing. Am I right? It is though. It's really nice. It's like, I almost wish the weather would stay like this all the time. Of course it won't. But it's pretty nice year-round where we are here. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6145, the Inert Haze Suppressors Ti-P on the HK P30L. Yeah, technical discussion of the article published last week. The 145th article, which is nuts. So we'll look at the design evolution of this silencer and kind of where it came from, where it's going, how it performs. It's pretty interesting. Things move fast in the silencer industry, guys. They really do. If you really pay attention, they do move fast. I think a lot of folks are seeing the explosion of this industry. I think the number of companies, the different technologies that are being showcased, the older technologies that are being repurposed. There's a lot to watch. There's a lot to see. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss some of it. I really think that's true. And that's totally fine. Most normal people really don't care about a lot of this stuff. But if you're a silencer enthusiast, a silencer lover, or maybe you just think they're neat, you kind of can't help but pay attention, right? That's kind of the case for me. It's always been like that for me. One thing that's a little interesting that I figured out a couple years ago is that PEW Science has created a situation that allows for direct observation of technical trends. And in some cases, advertisement of those trends, distribution of the information to the public of the actual technical performance parameters of technologies that they proliferate. And it's really happening in near real time in a lot of cases, okay? We saw it happen as we characterized older technologies that proliferated into newer stuff, like all the dead air Sandman stellite stuff, right? Like the rugged stellite. Literally everyone knows how all those sensors work now. Like it's almost old hat to you. Why? Well, look what we did. Yeah. We saw it happen with the OSS stuff. We all know about that. The OSS and HuxWorks. You all have seen that. We cracked that code. Okay, cool. We saw old Omega baffle derivatives and evolutions, didn't we? We've seen that. We've seen Hyperion stuff, the early Otter Creek stuff, the Nomad stuff. All that stuff is from Omega baffles when you really look at it. We're getting into even more advanced stuff lately, right? What's that? The purposely induced porosity, the PIP technology from PTR. We got the surge bypass technology from CAT. We're basically showcasing technologies and the true performance potentials. And I mean, when I say we're doing this, but we all have a front row seat to it, right? And so what you need to realize here, the last time something like this happened, I'm not really so sure I think when the really deep tweaking of the K baffle was happening at AAC for the pistol stuff, I think that was some of that. It was on a smaller scale, really. I mean, AAC was gigantic, but the technology tweaking, I felt like it was at a smaller scale because the industry wasn't as big. But it was sort of the same thing going on. We kind of watched it. PEW Science wasn't around back then, so I was around, but PEW Science wasn't doing what we're doing. So we talk about all these technologies, right? And then we start talking about classifying them all. And we start talking about high flow rate, low flow rate, conventional baffles, flow through, which is a trademark term. We talk about all this stuff. And there is such a soup of different technologies that we're forced to update the nomenclature to actually define them with like taxonomy. Right? We're literally classifying different things now. That's what we're doing. I don't know if you've noticed that in 145 articles, but we are doing that. So I came up with the term hybrid design a while back. You've noticed that. We put out an article on it, actually, a member research supplement. You can go check that out if you want. Hybrid design nomenclature is meant to capture the silencer technologies that are bridging the gap between super high flow rate designs and conventional pressure stagnation designs. Okay, that's kind of the flavor of that. So the hybrids attempt to, and this is either on purpose or by happenstance or by accident, they attempt to not rob Peter to pay Paul. They attempt to have your cake and eat it too. They want to let you have great weapon kinematics, or at least acceptable weapon kinematics or acceptable percentage of change, combined with great overall signature suppression. Okay, that's what a hybrid's really trying to do. And again, that can either be on purpose or by happenstance, but that's technically what they're capable of in this taxonomy classification. Okay, now hybrid designs are interesting, and when you look at them, you can go super simple or you can go super complicated. Just calling it a hybrid doesn't mean it's exotic necessarily, okay? It's part of the taxonomy. It's part of the classification. You can have some pretty complicated hybrid designs, like CAT surge bypass. Super complicated. But you can also have less complicated ones, like a Surefire RC2, or maybe even a HuxWorks Cache 9K. So, all three of those, take a CAT, like WB or ODB, and then the Surefire RC2 and the HuxWorks Cache 9K. All three of those silencers are wildly different at first glance, wildly different. But the gas dynamics principles of each have some things in common. They do. And in early time, They're letting the expanding combustion gases do something unconventional, while in later time they're throttling momentum. Not the same technologies, but at their core, they are on the family tree somewhere, at least in the same forest. They're sharing a root system. Okay, they're like live oaks. Anyway, so, and I know this was a very long introduction to this first topic, but I want to set the stage for you holistically. So that now brings me to the subject of the talk, the Inert Haze Ti-P. I'm going to call it the Ti-P. Some people call it the Ti-P. I'm not doing that. I'm going to stick with Ti-P, Ti-P. That's titanium pistol silencer. Ti-P is the model designation. This silencer, and I have it in front of me right now. This silencer, if you just look inside it, and you don't think about what you're looking at, you don't look closely, you don't look at the data analysis we published, you would think it's just a conventional pistol silencer. I swear you would. There is no way, without an in-depth examination of the silencer, that you would call it a hybrid design. Of that, you can be certain. But if you've been following PEW Science, you read the article, you looked at the performance, there should be no doubt in your mind that it's at least some type of hybrid design. And that's for sure, right? But what you may not realize is this is one of the most simple ways anyone has created a hybrid design pistol silencer ever. It truly is criminally simple when you really look at it. Whenever things are really elegant and simple in a way to solve a very complex problem, some folks call that brilliant engineering. Other folks only think engineering is brilliant when it's super complicated and there's like 100 rocket boosters and robots, dancing around. Either way, appreciating simplicity and elegance in problem solving in general, it's a nuanced pastime. Not everyone can appreciate it, and that's okay. One second. That's okay. I don't expect everyone to appreciate it. I'm not saying you need to appreciate it at all. I'm saying some people do appreciate things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the article together first. Okay. And as we go through it, we're going to talk about the performance. We're going to talk about the design, how it measures up to some other stuff we see in the pedigree so far, how it compares to some stuff that came before it. Okay. Things like that. Okay. So go ahead and pull up the article. That's review 6/145 in the Silencer Sound Standard at pewscience.com. So it's section 6. Paper 145 of the Silencer Sound Standard. Okay, you got that up. And again, as always, I tell you guys, I have the member review up. You'll do just fine pulling up the free version. Okay, it's no problem. Okay, so it's worth noting. I'm assuming you have the article up now. You paused it and got your glass of whiskey and you're in front of your computer. It's worth starting with the physical characteristics of the silencer. Just because of the context, and I have it in pieces. I took the booster out. I took the inertial decoupling system out. So this thing's 6.3 inches long from piston to end cap. Like the base of the piston where it shoulders, it might shoulder on the face of the muzzle, so don't be pedantic with me here, but you get what I'm talking about. The furthest point to furthest point is 6.3 inches long, and it weighs, in totality, 6 ounces. Weighs 6 ounces. That's nothing. Now, if you're a pistol silencer guy, which I am, and you have shot centerfire pistols with a silencer, this should already have your attention based on those physical parameters because it's not that long and it's not that heavy. And when you look at the diameter, which is 1.325 inches, you see that the thing's actually a little smaller than the new pistol silencer trend that you guys have been seeing, isn't it? And that trend has been increasing for quite some time. I remember when the trend started to get a little bigger in the AAC days. I remember. And it wasn't AAC who went bigger first, but they followed. They started getting bigger. And I remember when it started. And it's gotten quite large now. With this silencer, we're not, going back to the old, much smaller diameters that we had a couple decades ago, but we're not going in the other direction. We're not going bigger, so it's not going in the big direction, and that's to me a little bit of That's kind of progress, honestly. Like, I don't want to go super fat on a pistol if we don't have to. And I know a lot of you folks have optics on your pistols now. I do too. On some of my pistols, I get it. But there's something to be said for a silencer that disappears on the gun more. Especially when you're talking pistols. We're not talking about a rifle. So get out of your head right now, okay? This is like, I'm gonna slap you sometimes. Some of you guys. I'm talking about pistol here. So this is the Inert Haze Ti-P. It's fully welded. It's titanium, and it's not that big. That alone, interesting. It's interesting. So, bottom line up front, in the technical performance data here, 44.0 suppression rating at the muzzle on the HK P30L full-size combat handgun using Spear Lawman 147 grain ammunition. It's subsonic 9mm, but full power. Okay. 44 at the muzzle, 44 flat, and then 42.3 at the shooter's ear. So you look at those and they combine. What does that get you? Well, they combine to give you 46.7 composite rating for that host, that silencer, that ammo combo. Okay, that's what that's for. So right away, you look at that. It's pretty interesting information because you're sitting in the 40 zone for both muzzle and ear. Like, you're in the 40 zone for both muzzle and ear. When has that happened for a 9mm pistol silencer on a 9mm pistol so far? Well, it has not happened in the public data set yet before this. It has not. So right away, you're seeing a balance and signature that you really haven't seen from PEW Science before now. I'm not saying we have 100 listed yet, but we have a few, and you're not seeing it yet. So hold that thought, and let's look at some physics. We'll talk about it, okay? Talk about it. Scroll down in the article there, and you're going to scroll down past the table. If you want to look at the table, you can, but we should look at things that are more valuable. If you're going to scroll down, you guys got to remember, and I will take the opportunity to say this, this is a technical test report, so the way things are reported for completeness in a way that we do in this industry. And I'm not talking about the silencer industry, I'm talking about the testing industry, okay? Because that's where I live, and people get bent out of the shape of the table. Oh, why is the peak? And it's just there for documentation. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're gonna go blind looking at that stuff. Okay, what you need to be doing is looking at the plots and you look at the physics so you can understand what happens. Okay, if you don't understand the physics, you're gonna have a bad time. So you scroll down all the way down to figure 1, you're going to look at the silencer's fingerprint in the free field, okay? The free field blast overpressure, 1 meter left of the end cap, okay? That is the mil standard location of measurement in the free field. That is why it's done like that. Figure 1A, figure 1B. So here you have some great signatures. They're really clean. They're really great. Ooh and ah, okay? And they're showing you a couple things. You look at the blast pressure in figure 1A, you're seeing blowdown happen relatively quickly. You're seeing slide reciprocation. You're seeing slide closing. Okay, that's fine. Look at figure 1B, which zooms in to early time for the first 2 shots. You're seeing some typical subsonic behavior that should be familiar to you. Some precursor flow coming out. Okay, you got a ramp pressure rise. Okay, that all makes sense. Nothing crazy. Fairly standard pressure ramp. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about what that means practically, but let's keep going. Okay. Let's see how this pressure signature manifests in gas momentum transfer. Let's look at that. How are the wave particles interacting with the environment over time? What is the energy transfer really like here? That's figure 2. That's right. That's the same measurement point, this time expressed in impulse space. Okay? Yeah. Here, when you jump out of pressure space and you move to impulse space, you see some really great gradual rise, but not too gradual. You see some consistency, but you got a little divergence later in the shot string. Okay. You see some FRP, but it's not egregious. It's not egregious FRP. Okay. So To summarize what we see so far, we see relatively low amplitude pressure dump to atmosphere. Seems to blow down to the silencer relatively quickly. The timing and momentum transfer of the wave seems to be falling somewhere between a high back pressure silencer like a Tyrant 9 and a lower back pressure silencer like an RSP. If you really distill all of this down and you put them all side by side, in the interest of time, I'm not going to do that with you right now, but you can on your own time. It's all on the website. Why would that be? Why would this be fitting in between technologies in that way? Why? When, keeping some of the traits, changing in some traits in other ways. Why? Why and how would you get faster blowdown in a silencer but still come close to the same shooter's ear damage risk? Like I'm talking about the Tyrant, the full size, like the HD. How do you get close to the same hearing damage risk for the shooter in the free field with the Ti-P as the venerable Tyrant 9 when you're letting gas out faster? How? Lower back pressure, guys. Lower alpha and lower omega, actually. Yes. Now compare the Ti-P to the RSP. The Ti-P has higher omega, similar alpha. That's right. You can actually see the impulse rise slope in figure 2A, which is literally the inverse of the omega metric, like if you want to do the math, as we explained last episode, and it is explained in the derivation on the website. It's like you can see the omega drop with the Ti-P over the RSP. Now, all the Ti-P does, guys, and I'm not taking anything away from the Ti-P because there's some good design stuff in here, but all the Ti-P does is shape gas flow with the piston vents properly, let you accumulate reflections around the blast baffle, not induce severe reflections in early time, and it out RSPs the RSP and muzzle signature while keeping the back pressure low enough that, you only lose a couple points at the ear. Okay. Basically, the Ti-P is a smaller, lighter, more efficient RSP in every sense of the word. Like that. I know that's going to be upsetting to people, and I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And guys, it's actually not that complicated. It's actually more simple than the RSP as well. So back to what I said earlier in the podcast. When you look at solving problems with elegance and you figure out more simple ways to do something, you get beautiful art. Some folks would say that. I'm not saying that's good. Everyone thinks that. Some folks would say that. And the Ti-P sort of follows that, right? You're approaching the problem the exact same way that the RSP approached it, but you're doing it with less parts and more simple geometry. That's kind of the gist here. Now, is that a coincidence? Well, of course it's not a coincidence. If you had asked anybody else, and I'm not sure they would have told you this. I have the fortunate position of knowing who worked on both of the silencers, and the guy who worked on the RSP did the Ti-P. And that's how it is. And in talking with Inert Haze, which I did, technically, after we completed the testing and analysis, they confirmed everything I just told you. You can literally see this in the data. You can't hide things like this. You cannot. There is no possible way to hide the signature characteristics of an RSP and a Ti-P. Take two pistols, any two pistols, pick them. Just make sure they're the same. Take an RSP and put it on one. Take a Ti-P and put it on the other. Measure the pressure coming out. Put the waveforms in front of someone. They should be able to pick both out of the lineup instantly based on what we see in the data. Right? With the RSP, you're going to have a faster vent, a bit more uncontrolled, but still throttled. With the Ti-P, you're going to vent quick, but more controlled at a lower amplitude, do additional piston work, right? And you're going to still cycle the gun very similarly. These silencers are brothers. They have the same father. You can put them in two different schools growing up, and if they meet on the football field or the basketball court later, people are going to watch them go against each other. Man, they're like, whoa, that's weird. It's like the Spider-Man meme. It's fate. Right? Again, you can't see this if you just look in the silencers at the gun store. Guys, you got to take them apart and study them and then look at the data and you'll be like, oh, I see. I get it. I get it. Okay? And it's actually somewhat insane when you really think about it. You could, if you really wanted to. If if you really wanted to, due to the simplicity of these designs, straight up make similar pistol silencers that do similar things. This is literally a blueprint. It's actually, I'm somewhat surprised that the people who hate PEW Science haven't simply also just used the information to make better silencers from the website. There's 145 articles of extremely technical combustion analysis on the website. It's all public. Those companies could join for $100 a month and get the exact information they would need to do cool stuff. And it's all like, that's really cheap. It's like, look how much R&D is there. Sometimes I wonder if ego prevents that. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, maybe they just don't want to say they needed help or something. I don't know. Or maybe it's just patent law and they're freaking out about that. I don't know. They just want to like not look at it. So like I have, it's funny. I have talked to some silencer designers that purposely don't look at other stuff because they don't want to accidentally be inspired by something that could like be construed as ripping someone off. Isn't that interesting? And then of course there's other companies that just cut everything open as soon as it comes out, and so they can see how it works and yada. And there's tons of those companies because I mean they tell everyone they do it, or they tell me they do it. So it's weird. But I was just thinking about that. I was like, there's literally like, you got a Resilient Suppressors RSP article on the website. Now you got an Inert Haze Ti-P article on the website. You have like in-depth combustion analysis of both. You can literally take these, you can't take the Ti-P apart, but you can take the RSP apart, and then you can bore scope the Ti-P, and you can kind of see why it's doing what it's doing. And then, like, if you are another silencer company, you could just be like, okay, well, we're going to make our silencer do that this way. And they should, within reason, know what suppression rating you would get, right? This isn't a mystery. It's all on the website. So, like, when I see simple things like this, and it's so different than the other pistol silencers, I'm like, I wonder if people are realizing the power. And, consumers don't care. They're just going to buy the stuff. Now, the wait times are so fast that you don't have to worry about it. But manufacturers, man, you should pay attention. I'm not saying copy their silencers, but I'm saying if you want to learn how to make a silencer, just go to the website. I think we're at that point now. It's getting kind of interesting. And pistol silencers, and I told this to someone the other day, pistol silencers are way more complicated than rifle silencers. And you're figuring that out, right? Yeah. As we test more pistol silencers, people are going to be like, oh crap, oh man, there's moving parts. Oh no, yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, so there's a pervasive. So let's get back to the data. Sorry, I went off on that tangent, but I just thought that was interesting. Now let's keep we're still here in pressure and impulse space at 1 meter left of the muzzle, and there is some stuff in the member review that is very important to talk about, and it kind of bleeds over into the free version too. There's a pervasive thing that keeps happening that is annoying, but good. You guys can see the early time shock loads that happen later in the shot string at the shooter's ear. You get a preview of them in the muzzle waveforms, because what you end up having in the muzzle waveforms, you get the delayed onset jetting. So, guys, there's something that happens. We need to talk about this. As these silencers are heating up, as you keep pumping hot, expanding combustion gases into them, what's actually happening? What happens when you really hot, high-pressure gas into a volume? It cools and it expands. Yeah. What happens when you release that hot, high-pressure gas into a really hot environment? Does it expand and cool the same way? Maybe not. What you start to see with silencers, mostly those with conventional baffles, which, make no mistake, this one does have conventional baffles. What you start to see is the weapon starting to unlock a little earlier in time, later in the shot string, which allows little shocks to escape from the breech. Now, this isn't war comp level bad. Okay, guys? Sure, they're shock loads. They are blast loads, but they aren't war comp level bad shock loads, okay? They're just little baby shocks. Just cute little baby shocks that, they let you know, hey, man, this underexpanded supersonic flow isn't super happy right now, so cool it off, man. Cool it. Literally. That's all about that. If you want to see the magnitude of momentum generated by that short duration, low amplitude blast load, those shocks, check out the member review. And I know, guys, not all you can see it. This is one of those times where I know I say that you can follow along fine with the free version, but this time it's like, yes, but there is some stuff that really the members can only see, and I'm sorry. This is how it is. But if you are a member, look at shots 4 through 6, and also look at the impulse in early time. And it's not a lot of impulse in early time from those shocks, but it is there. So you do need to remain cognizant of this phenomenon with a pistol silencer and with a suppressed pistol. You see this, and because I want to give for everyone's benefit. You see this, right? And you ask yourself, does it matter? Well, yeah, actually, the answer is it does matter, and actually, yeah, the weapon system actually would be quieter to the shooter if you could eliminate that phenomenon. Is this the silencer to do it? Clearly not. Clearly not with this particular ammo and pistol. But you could maybe eliminate that with weaker ammo and a different pistol. Not sure. Would have to perform a study. Now, you could also theoretically eliminate it by shooting slower or shooting more slowly. It didn't happen until the 4th shot, guys. That's typically where we see that start to happen, though we have seen it happen in shot 3 before. But sometimes it just happens with one shot, too. It just depends. It's actually tied to flow rate, seems to be. It just depends. It's seldom in the first couple of shots, and that's because things aren't hot enough yet, like I explained before with the gas expansion. So you can make the suppression rating go higher by changing the setup, as with anything, right? You can game the system. You can use weaker ammo. You can fire really, really, really slowly. You can change results 100 different ways. And that is why we test the way we do to control variables. Remember, you can also change results by shooting the thing in your car, in your bedroom, or in your garage, or whatever building, shoot in a building. You could definitely change results. Keep that in mind when you use that data. That's why we test in the free field, so it's universal. You don't have to have a special room that's special size, and that would be dumb, right? So we do it like this. So let's talk comparison between this silencer and some other silencers. We have touched on it. There's a lot of stuff in the article, but I would like to do it visually with you, and it'll be easier with the bar chart in Figure 5. Let's scroll down, and I know I'm going through this a little bit quickly. But at the same time, it's not that long of an article. One second. And I kind of just wanted to cut to the chase, so I hope that's okay. Okay, so but let's compare. Let me make my window a little bigger so I can have the full chart visible to me, or most of it at least. Okay, very good. So these bar charts are really great. I like them, because it's probably one of the easiest ways to see how balanced the silencer is. It's hanging with the highest performing silencers at the shooter's ear, and it's beating most of them at the muzzle. Let me rephrase that. The Ti-P is hanging with the highest performing silencers at the shooter's ear, and of that group, it's beating most of them at the muzzle. Okay, the exception here in the whole group is that Tyrant 9M HD full configuration, the long configuration. That thing, man, tell you what, it's doing very good at the muzzle, and the timing, it's really quiet, and the timing is great for its muzzle blast and ejection port coalescence. So the thing's really just great all around. The issue you're going to run into with that one is that it's just way longer and heavier, So hey. There you go, right? There's always a trade-off with stuff, and this is for a pistol, so that's a pretty big silencer hanging off your gun. Make no bones about it. It's cool, but it is big. So, when you look at the things that are getting high shooter's ear suppression ratings simply by dumping gas faster, you see that the Ti-P is far outpacing those systems in muzzle suppression, and I think that's a pretty good takeaway from this chart. Okay, I think that's a pretty big takeaway. Now you compare the Ti-P to the RSP like we did already, and you can see the more balanced design in action. Again, same design philosophy, just ramping up Omega a little bit, being a little smarter up front. It's not that radically. I mean, geometrically it's different, but conceptually it's not that radically different. Now, you see all the short configurations of silencers, and you could almost count the Cache 9K as a short configuration in some ways, because it really is a short configuration of the Rad 9 from OSS. It really is the same thing. You look at those, like that one, and then like all the short configurations of the Tyrant stuff, and the short configuration of the Obsidian 45. They're not throttling gas as much, so you get that louder muzzle signature, right? Now, when you go to the extreme end, and you look at things like, like the Mod 9 or the Trident, you're looking at very high back pressure systems, but they sound good to bystanders. I mean, those things are kind of classic type of pistol silencers. So you see this, it's definitely a spectrum, but it's also definitely not just letting gas out faster. Like these silencers that have high shooter's ear suppression ratings, it's not that they're necessarily letting gas out faster. Some of them do, and that's how some of them are achieving that lower back pressure. But that's not how this works all the time, right? Early time blast reflections, minimizing that alpha, that's key. And that's how the Ti-P works in part. Okay, in part. That's a system. Okay, so how do you, the shooter, really interpret shooting a suppressed 9mm pistol in the free field with all these different ratings? Well, it's the same as you would a rifle, actually. It really is. If you shoot a configuration on the chart that has a high ear rating but low muzzle rating, you're going to be protected in the free field, but late time signature will sound boomy or more like a gunshot or things like that. It's going to sound louder in later time, and that's just how it is due to physics. In the free field, those reflections aren't coming back to you with as high an amplitude to hurt you that much, and that's why the shooter's ear suppression rating doesn't drop a whole lot. That's how you get a balanced signature. Okay, but a lot of people don't like that. Some people want something to sound good in late time and protect them in early time. And so for that, the Tyrant 9M HD, it might be better for those people. I mean, it's really big though. Okay, you see the trade-offs here. Now, what if you're looking at two shorter silencers with comparable ear signature, but their muzzle signatures differ? That could very well happen. Okay, like look at the RSP and the Ti-P. Okay, chances are the Ti-P should sound quieter in late time, but it does have a slightly lower shooter's ear suppression rating. So, a comparison of those two silencers, it can be kind of complex to do it like subjectively with a human, but the numbers show exactly how they compare in the free field. So chances are, if you shot them near a wall, the Ti-P may come out on top. It might depend on some stuff, right? Because there's complex wave interaction. But that's kind of some things to look at. And you go back to the hybrid design talk from earlier in the topic too. Again, topical. That's the whole point here, right? A hybrid design is trying to maximize your late time suppression. And that's a really weird way to say that. And I don't want to confuse you, but you know what? A good one I forgot to mention is the Sancerco Veloz. That's not a flow-through silencer, right? It's a hybrid design, right? It's actually sort of like a Helios. It's very similar to a Helios silencer, which is also, you guessed it, a hybrid silencer. People often report enjoying shooting a Veloz more than a Huxworks. And why is that? Why do they think that? I've seen people say it. It makes sense, guys. It's due to the late time reflections. That's the muzzle suppression differential from the Omega being higher, guys. Come on. You know this, guys. You know this by now. And look, Omega metric studies with regard to reflection, they're going to have to come. You would be surprised what you can do with that simple physics term. For now, just know the industry at large is seeing this stuff. Okay, this is public. We talk about this in every freaking silencer technical discussion now, don't we? Regardless of cartridge, I think we talk about this. We're talking about this now on a semi-auto 9mm handgun. We talked about it in the Mark 18. We talked about it in the M4. We talked about the MP5. We talked about the Beretta 21A. Pretty much all the semi-autos we've shown you data for, we talked about this. That's because all of this matters. The action, the blast loads coming from everywhere, the rate at which they're coming out of the silencer. It's one of the simplest calculations one can do, and one that we here at PEW Science literally pioneered. We literally pioneered that calculation. That's like something that we can definitely say. It's a matter of historical record. It's documented on the website and the podcast, right? We've done it for years. Okay, so you guys can start to understand the relationship between gas flow rate out of the silencer. You can start to understand relationship between that and ejection port blast, and surfaces near you, and shooter zero suppression rating, and bystander suppression rating, and comparing different silencers in different environments. It should start to make sense to you when you really consider all of this. Okay, there's a lot, and yes, you do have to pay attention, and you can't just read one thing to get it. You really do have to follow the information and research. And don't worry, you can reach out to us with questions, and we'll be happy to help you. But the big picture should be becoming very clear. It should be becoming very clear to you. Okay, so I hope this article helps you understand pistol silencers a little better. I mean, they're not that different than rifle silencers, really, when you think about it. There's some mechanical things going on that you really have to worry about, but that's outside the scope of our discussion right now. We're not talking about that right now. There's no time. Okay. Yes, it is outside the scope to talk about it. But one thing that we didn't talk about with regard to some of the piston assembly is actually very topical for the gas dynamics discussion, and it is worth talking about how this one works with regard to flow. It's actually pretty nice. When you look at this one, you see they did something a little different. You can actually use CGS pistons in this silencer, funny enough. The guy who designed all of CGS's stuff, a lot of you know him, his piston designs are pretty cool. For gas dynamics in particular, I have it on good authority, actually, that the Ti-P piston draws some inspiration from that. And you can literally see that for yourself. Just look at it. A lot of folks in pistol silencers with inertial decoupling piston systems have very, very simple pistons that do nothing at all but have some simple holes in them. There's work to be done there, actually. There really is. So that part of this silencer is neat. They did pay a little more attention there. Some folks asked me if this silencer is light enough to function without a spring and piston. I tell folks that I'm not sure, and I wouldn't want to try it. A suppressed handgun is incredibly complex, and if you want it to actually run for a while, the inertial decoupler can help you really not lose your mind and not break stuff. Like, I just use the piston, guys. They're definitely not all created equal, and sadly, and I don't want to ruffle too many feathers here, but look, this is just my opinion. In my opinion, no one has really done anything radically different than what Knight's Armament invented back in the day for semi-automatic pistol silencer. I'm really not seeing anything radically different, guys. So I'm still waiting for that personally, because I'm a pistol silencer enthusiast. I love pistol silencers, and I'm not seeing anything radically different mechanically, frankly. I'm not saying you have to reinvent the wheel, but let's think outside the box, maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe got as good as it can get. I don't know. I don't think that's true. So all in all, I think the silencer is pretty cool, man. Mainly, and look, that's just a subjective thing to say. I think it's pretty cool. I think probably the reason I think it's cool is because of the form factor coupled with the performance. I think if it was way bigger, I'd be like, eh. But I think of how small it is, I'm like, yeah, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, I'm a 9mm pistol silencer guy, like through and through, always have been. This is the type of thing that I'm like, oh, that's dope. That's dope. Like, it's titanium. You can clean it with magic juice, or whatever, if you want to. You can run it on Silencer Co. Alpha Pattern back-end accessories, I know I just got done talking about pistons and may seem like I'm dogging pistons. Oh, he's thrashing the pistons. No, I'm not doing that. Maybe I am. So you could, whatever Silencer Co. Alpha Pattern, I forgot. I put that thread diameter and pitch in the article. I forgot what that is. You can look it up. So you can put stuff in the back of it. I'm pretty sure it comes with a piston and spring. You can put other stuff on it. So that means you could put this on a sub gun. That's kind of where I was going with that. You can put it on a sub gun if you want. I don't think that would be the smartest thing to do. Just within reason, you got to really think about what you're doing. I would probably just stick to pistols with this guy based on how it works. I think Inert Haze makes a subgun silencer we might take a look at later. That'll come later, but it's different. But I mean, this thing, it is fully welded. There's really nothing complicated. This is not a complicated silencer, but it has some technical performance that stands out because the design was thoughtful. That's right. Yeah, fully welded, nothing complicated, very light, well balanced on the handgun. Oh, good work, Inert Haze. New company, came out swinging, trusted PEW Science. The data and analysis agreed with what they were seeing from their design intent. They achieved their goals. Here we are. Big ups. It takes a very confident company to submit test samples like this and go all the way like they did. We appreciate you. We acknowledge your efforts, as does the entire PEW Science membership. Okay, so welcome to the family, Inert Haze. We are in your debt. Congratulations on a job well done. Okay, we are going to move into topic 2 at a time of 51 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, 1 second here, guys. I got to regroup. Get a new bottle of water here. Oh my goodness. That's a cool silencer, I think. That Inert Haze can. I haven't had a lot of time for recreational shooting. I want to take out some of these 9mm cans and go nuts with them. Watch I break it. Turns out it wasn't so good. Just kidding. Topic 2. Speaking of shooting, tons of testing's going on right now. And there's some great technical articles coming your way. There are. The backlog. I'm scared. Hold me. Huge thanks to clients like Inert Haze and others that are really, really trusting us with their babies. Essentially, that's what they're doing. It's like that's not lost on me. Okay, I know how crazy that is. So big thanks to all them. Big thanks to all you listening. Big ups, man. All your contributors and members. Keeping the lights on is pretty dope. It helps me to know that this is actually sustainable. It's very important. And I'm seeing the Form 4 approval times you guys are seeing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. I never in a million years did I think it would be like that. So you guys, you don't even know. It's crazy. So, I'm looking at this whole thing. And guys, if I told you it was all gas and no brakes, like it would be an understatement, dude. Like one of my weapon company friends, don't worry, it's like they don't make silencers, so I can be friends with them, right? People get so mad. They make weapons. And he is my buddy. He's really cool. He's an engineer. He used that phrase of how like they're doing right now. Like I always ask him, hey man, how's it going over there? And he's like, man, all gas, no brakes, dude. All gas, no brakes. And I every time he tells me that, I'm like, man, I love that saying. I love that so much. I'm using it too because it literally applies. All gas, no brakes. We are testing, we are analyzing, we are running around like crazy. It's nuts, dude. It's not healthy. Thank you for your patience as we continue to publish. Your patience is really appreciated. There's a lot going on, so it's. Just because you don't see an article from PEW Science doesn't mean that nothing's happening, okay? And I'm just saying, like, the pace may not seem extreme to you guys, but behind the scenes, like, a lot of stuff is happening. So please stay tuned, okay? I have not done a dedicated Love Fest topic like this in a while. And I always do these. I call them Love Fest. I just want to thank all you guys for being awesome. So I just want to say, because I haven't said this in a while, thank you to all the clients for making it happen. Those that you see published on the website, thank you. Those that are not published on the website, big thank you. Okay, there's a lot. We got lab clients all over that are going to remain nameless. So they really trust us to help characterize their stuff, man. That we're helping people in the development of their systems by giving them information they're not getting anywhere else. Okay, so we couldn't be more pleased with those relationships. So thank you to all of you. Huge thanks to all you consumers and the dealers supporting us. It's huge. The consumers, man, it's amazing. And we've been looking at the Form 4 thing's been nuts because we've been looking at that. And at first we were like, how come our traffic's so crazy right now? And then, yeah, sure enough, it's Form 4 stuff. People are like, the ATF is streamlining things a bit. Okay, they are. Don't get your hopes up too much, but we've seen approval times on social media going insane, a matter of weeks or days instead of months or years. So whenever you're going to see, or whenever you see an order of magnitude shift in the status quo, there's going to be ripple effects, right, in the community. So on the PEW Science end, our demand is increasing, which raises our backlog. Okay? You need to understand that happens. Now, on the manufacturer end, same thing. Okay? On the dealer and distributor end, same thing. So if there's anyone that operates in this industry in some way that it's tied to the amount of people interested in silencers, those people are feeling the effects of this policy stuff with ATF. Okay? So they're all working hard to satisfy folks in a timely manner. I think I can say that for the whole industry. I can say that for PEW Science, of course. I think we're all in the same boat. Okay? So this is not asking for an IOU or something. I'm not. It's not an excuse or something, but it is a reality that if you are a consumer that is needing something from various parties, you should understand that these are unprecedented times. Okay? Or not necessarily unprecedented, but unprecedented in the recent past. So thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your support. Most of all, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for your patience. We will continue to have some killer data publications coming to you all year. It's just going to be nonstop. So stay tuned for that. We're going to go out and test a little bit here too. So it's going to be nuts. We got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm excited. You should be excited. It's a great time to be alive. Stay tuned. Stay safe. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.